Hello, everyone. Welcome to University Wellness Program Blueprint with Dr. Cynthia Ellison. I'm glad you could join us tonight. Thank you, Dr. Ellison, for being here. This is a really busy time of year for all of you, and I know it is for Dr. Ellison, who's had a lot of activity at Virginia State University just today. She is part of Trojan Health and Wellness at Virginia State University. And Cynthia, you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. I am a licensed professional counselor in the Commonwealth of Virginia and an approved clinical supervisor. Here at VSU, I supervise counseling, disability services, as well as health center. And we stay really active. I have about 15 years of mental health experience working from intensive in-home to outpatient therapy to in the jails to obviously academia. So my experience is pretty broad.
Excellent. So I just kind of wanted to define what a wellness program is, and it's an ongoing effort to create a culture of wellness for a new generation of students, as well as faculty. And so we're going to just do kind of a Q&A dive into this topic.
Okay.
And then later on, we're going to put this on YouTube. And my first question is, in a day and age where so many leaders take a check-the-box approach to mental health, how have you gotten leadership for their buy-in and involvement to do what you've been able to do?
Okay, so to get the buy-in, part of it is in the design of how the counseling center is structured at the university. When I initially got buy-in, the counseling center was aligned with the provost's office. So my report was to direct leadership. And I believe that experience is the best teacher. So every time we took a crisis call, I informed the provost. Every single time I called him, I asked him to help us do the parental notifications. I let him let him sit with the experience of informing a parent that a student was not well, and this is where the student was. It also allowed us to keep our therapeutic relationship with the student because she knows we didn't call, so that when the student came back from an acute admission potentially, that the person would be more likely to return to the counseling center. Another strategy that we used was to also allow our students to be our voices. They were the ones we were serving. So we went to them and said, we'd love to partner with you, come to your activities and your meetings that you have and the events and intertwine mental health into them. It's everybody's platform now on campus. Our tagline is mental health is everybody's business. And even just today, I was able to get about 22 students together in the middle of the day and a dean to have a conversation about suicide and mental health, which is pretty phenomenal in the middle of a regular school day. So we've done all those kinds of things. Our alumni have done it for us. Some of it because we do the mental health walk. The media has done for us because we've gotten lots of coverage for our wellness and what it looks like and what we're doing and the positive messages we're sending it. And we're trying to move from acute status. And that was what I told the provost his charge was, to move us from being the acute place, like the patient first, for lack of a better word, of mental health and wellness, to having us be proactive, to us doing resiliency and strategies and things that educate the community and build resiliency skills, not only for students, because faculty and staff, because they're interrelated. You can't, if the students aren't well, the faculty aren't well. If the faculty aren't well, the students aren't well. And every university out there should be concerned. Retention, persistence, and graduation rate. That's how they measure us. This is one way you can move those statistics in a positive manner by supporting their well-being.
And what I liked about what our conversation was earlier that I think is a really important point to get across is you take it to them. You're not saying, come to the counseling office, we're going to have a group. You go to them and tell us what that looks like.
Well, first thing we do is whenever the student leadership elects their new leadership, we make sure we're in the space and the place We serve as judges. We go out in the community. We support their programming. We listen to them. We have a roundtable discussion with their leadership, with the Royal Court, along with the student leadership group, TAB, and the Charlie Hill Fellows. All of those students, we get a cross section of our students and we find out what they're doing. For the organizations, we go to advisor training and we talk to the advisors about making sure that if you talk about mental health, that you have your organization invite us in. We're not trying to take over your program, but oftentimes when we do mental health, people are triggered. And so that you have someone there to support you, we support from the rear. Inevitably, we usually wind up at the front and doing some talking because someone will say, do you have something you want to contribute? Or Dr. Ellison, can you answer that? Or whichever team member is present. So by taking it to them, they own it, they stamp it, they talk about it in the town hall meetings. And we have leadership in our students that mirrors leadership in our administration. So there's a president, there's a provost, there's an AVP. So if we're talking to that person, then that person talks to their counterpart. That student leader talks to their counterpart in administration, and it gets us the buy-in we need. Enough so that they've now given more dollars, hard dollars, to fund this. They've given us programming dollars that allow us to do massage, yoga, paint and sip, line dancing, all of these kinds of things, healthy eating, diet. We're actually hiring a wellness coordinator right now to be a part of the process of moving our students to holistic well-being, which it ties in with our strategic plan.
Excellent. Well, that kind of leads me into tell us what your wellness program looks like right now and what your, the high level view, because we can't, in an hour, we can only get into so many details. But tell us what that looks like, because you mentioned line dancing, not line. You mentioned a lot of activities. So tell me what it looked like and how they've responded. Tell me about the stinkers too, the things you tried that bombed.
Okay. So believe it or not, what we've seen, we do all of these activities. Activities are offered every 2 weeks, some only once a month, because looking at the data doesn't say that we've got a lot of students interested in this particular activity. Here for us, we've had some students with yoga, but not as many, but quite a few for mindfulness. You got to look at your population and see what your population is endorsing. The line dancing they like, and as you know, that's great for serotonin and for depression and get up and get going. They love the massage. The massage is the most popular thing, and we also did massage last year, this is what we really want to expand. We want to make sure we're inclusive of faculty and staff. The American Psychological Association says faculty and staff are first responders, coaches, mentors, and teachers. Dr. Ellison didn't say that. The American Psychological Association said it. And it's true. And so we're doing more activities for them. At the beginning of this term, we've had 2 students murdered, a faculty member with RSV. We bought in EAP on our yard right here for our faculty and staff to engage in EAP counseling on the campus of Virginia State University in the middle of a workday. We are here for our students. We're using the STEP model of care. And we've been educating everyone. Every time we go out, we pull out that model so people can know what they can expect. But that model also includes people being trained as mental health first aid responders so that they know what it looks like. It is impossible. It just can't happen for a few people in a counseling center to take care of an entire campus. Our tagline is mental health is everybody's business. And we say it like this, everybody. It's everybody's business. And why? Because if you have eyes, Ms. Moss, you can say something. You can walk a student over. You can ask them, how can I assist you? Maybe you can call us and tell us, hey, my roommate or the person 2 doors down doesn't seem to be well, and ask for a wellness check on them. So we're training people from the gate, from the moment they get here. We're training people to know how to do it. And I can tell you, for the first time this year, we gave our freshman class 2.5 hours in welcome week of mental health. The first hour and a half was about suicide and college students. We had a ton of counselors in the audience to catch them when they were triggered as they were running out, to make sure that they were okay. We also came back, we gave them a day's break. We came back, we did an hour session. And in that hour session, they did a wellness plan. They did a therapy assisted online, which is a self-help app. And we actually taught them some coping strategies. Prior to now, if I were looking at my statistics year by year from 2018 to now, most of my referrals have come from faculty and staff. Haha, not this year. Most of my referrals have come from my students and my freshman students. And my freshman students who got that 2.5 hours, they're always the largest population to use the service, but even more so this year. And they're coming over with their peers to support them. So we're
Wow.
trying to normalize mental health.
Yeah, do you have any way to track that data?
Yes.
That's awesome.
That's
Okay.
exactly what
I know, and everybody on this call knows that the administrators want to see that data, right? That's awesome.
And that's what I give them, the numbers, because the numbers are also what inform budget and what we get and what we need. We finally added a case manager. We trying to do wraparound support for our students. Certain disorders are not eligible for treatment in the counseling center. Certainly we would do crisis if they show up and they're in crisis. But if they're showing up and it appears to be a psychotic episode or bipolar, we're going to work with them for the moment. We're going to stabilize them, but then we're going to link them out in the community. And so we're also building a pool of providers that are willing to actually pro bono some services, because about 85% of our students receive federal financial aid.
Oh, wow. I can't believe you've been able to create those alliances. That's pretty incredible. So you don't have a giant budget. You're not a very big university. How did you get all this funded?
The administration funded it. Some grants were secured. We did some partnerships with some of our colleagues in other areas on the campus. We do have a psychology department. We do have a social work department. We do have a counselor education department. So you partner with the people that are on the yard. And we are actually partnering with student activities to get the bodies. And we created a peer advocate support system for our students to come in and just to walk people over. We're having activities, not so much regular groups, but we wrote to write love on arms against suicide. So we brought in a henna tattoo specialist, and our students got to tattoo their version of love and what it looks like on their arm.
Oh, I really love that. What was the reaction to that?
The students love that. Even the administrators love that. They said, Dr. Ellison, that's pretty creative.
It is.
Well, that's for our students. It's how we have to reach this population. They're not going to come and sit down in a group. Those have not been as successful. However, I can say our group here in queer, for my LGBTQ plus population, that traditional group has been very supportive and is very well attended by the students here at Virginia State.
Okay, so your LGBTQIA plus group has been successful.
Mm-hmm.
Love on Arms and tattoo. What other activities have worked? If group isn't the thing, you talked about going in and teaching coping strategies. How open are they to learning those? And, how long are they willing to stay to learn them?
Actually, we do that for 45 minutes. And we started it week 4 of the term so that they could get adjusted and get all their classes and figure out the financial aid and all of that. And it's an open group. They can come in. We're not making them stay. We designed it to be 6 sessions, and anyone can join at any session. And it can wrap back around so that if they want to stay to go through the skills for all 6 sessions, they can. But if they don't, they can come to session 2 and session 3 and not come back anymore. Maybe next term, they'll come to session 1 and session 4. And so we're going to run them. And so, because it depends on the activities that are happening on the yard. If something is happening that they really want to attend, the food trucks are on the yard, some play is on the yard, some step show is on the yard for the Greeks. Well, we can't compete with that. So
No.
what we've decided to do was we joined them. So we as administrators also engage in a step show. I'm a member of a Greek letter organization, and we get out and we step too. Again, this builds relationships with our students, and they see us differently and feel a connection, and then they want to come over and talk to us.
Right. Well, people always want to, like, I know that well over 50% or 80% of students who struggle with thoughts of suicide are just going to tell a normal person instead of a mental health professional. So I think that that training is spot on. So you mentioned earlier the massage, and then I want you to tell us what those nap pods are. So we'll
Yeah.
start with massage. How did you find people? I mean, what does that look like?
So the nap pod is this long table, and it has this dome that comes across in the front of you, and you're closed in. When a student gets in it, or even faculty and staff, because they also like using it, uh, it reclines back, the music comes on, and it says, "Welcome to the nap pod experience." And it's really like a guided meditation, but kind of in a Star Trek kind of manner, is what I would say, for lack of a better word, because everybody likes it. The parents are always in awe. This is parent weekend coming up. We want to make sure our parents know that those things are here and their students have exposure to them. We've had quite a few students. We got them in the middle of the pandemic. I'm going to say probably that January, um, right after the pandemic started. Like the first semester, some schools went on virtual, some schools didn't come back at all. They delayed. We got them in January, but we did not launch them until January 22. And we've seen more and more students using as we tell them about it and they hear about it and their peers use it. And those pods are across the hall from my office. They scan, they go in, they use it. We now see students showing up with blankets and pillows. It just, it's a 20-minute cycle, but if no one is signed up to use a nap pod, and we have 3 of them after you, then you can stay in there. We don't bother them because we know some of what we've seen students for are roommate issues, and they just need a quiet space, or they just need to de-stress. They come over. I got my athletics coaches coming over to use a nap pod. And they cost about $43,000 each. So it's not a small investment, it's rather a large investment. And we would really like to get one for our faculty and staff.
So did you rent one first or did you buy it? How did you buy a nap pod
We
for
bought one.
$8,000?
We bought one. Again, the blessing and the curse of being able to directly report to a provost who saw the numbers, who
Right.
had a daughter enrolled in the school, and he saw what her peers were going through. Some of the experiences and the close calls we've had um, help our administration to say, yes, we're in. And they watch the data. And I make sure I'm always talking about the data. Every time they invite me to something to talk, you got to talk the numbers. It sounds a little morbid, but people have to know what's happening, because the first thing they say is, we didn't know. We didn't know this was going on. So I keep a track. I'm always ready to give the time count of how many people have been in and how many people have been hospitalized. When I walk in now and I say we saw 1,402 students during the last academic year, 22-23, nearly 22% of the VSU population, and we hospitalized 34 students, and 63% of the 1,402 students endorsed suicide ideation. Well, that right there kind of is the support you need for them to understand the importance of buying in. And when we have our walks, we do a mental health walk in the spring, and it's about mental health awareness, just raising awareness and normalizing it's okay to not be okay. We have our president, he puts on his sneakers and he walks the campus, and his deans walk the campus with our students. The provost walk the campus. Tomorrow night, we're having our fall walk, which is the suicide prevention awareness walk. and we're going to give our first trophy. We're rocking VSU purple and teal tomorrow. So we're going to change our logo color. We're going to be purple and teal tomorrow. It's all about awareness and raising awareness and giving support to people who may have been touched by that public health threat. And so that's what we're doing tomorrow. And so leadership comes and they lock arms with us and they walk down the street and the band leads us off and the cheerleaders, the woo-woos cheer, and the Greek letter organizations come out and support, and the radio station comes and puts it on the radio. And it becomes it's uplifting. The gospel choir will sing tomorrow night, different than in the spring walk, because it's such a solemn reason we're walking and very serious. And so we don't want to trivialize it. We don't want to make it minor. We want to bring some reverence to it. But we also want to say, hey, this is why mental health is everybody's business. This is why we need your support, because we don't want not one Trojan, not one. We don't want anybody, one person, period, to be touched, not just a Trojan, anywhere. And so everybody comes along. And I mean, it feels like since I've been here almost 5 years, well, 5 years now, everybody has taken up the banner and everybody is doing the mental health thing. Just it's everywhere. And we've asked them, don't do mental health, don't talk about it unless we're there to support you, because you could inadvertently trigger someone. And you need to make sure that there's a mental health professional present to help the person to be okay in the moment. And that's working. Every time we go to the leadership and we talk to the leadership, the moderator tomorrow night is a student leader. Everybody's always it's student led. We're there and we become the background and they're the foreground.
Yeah, I like that. I like that because you're giving them agency on their own mental health.
Yes.
And I like the fact that you're asking them and you're bringing them in on this process and trying new things and seeing what catches and what doesn't, and discarding that which doesn't, because we're always talking about yoga, right? And then, but that's not the only thing.
No, we did mindfulness. They like that. They love the nap pod. They love the massage, the dancing. And we're going to do next term, we're looking to do different forms of dance. And so we have a dance department. So we called our colleagues. Hey guys, maybe we can do a 6-week of something on dance. And, dance is cathartic, dance is healing, dance is whatever the title is you guys come up with. But each week introduce a different form or a different type, and with a different genre of music as well, which also speaks to the diversity, equity, belongingness, or inclusion, whichever word your campus is using. We want to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our international students as well. So we're making sure we're being intentional and tying them into the process. Right. We have an international office. And so we're talking to the people and the students that are a part of that to make sure that we don't leave populations out inadvertently.
Excellent. So you mentioned international students. About how many of your population are international students?
I'd say 7 or 8% perhaps of our student body is.
Okay.
But we're being intentional and we have a diversity officer. And so we're making sure we partner with him as well to make sure that we are, like I said, tying in everybody. We've even tied in spirituality. It's not a part of our unit right now, but we're talking about realignment and perhaps making it, because for this population, for the African-American population, the faith is a part of the coping strategy and healing. And so it seems to be a natural fit with the unit. But even though they're not, they participate. When we call them and we say, we want you to lead us off or do an inspiration or whatever, they do it. And we are looking to start coping with hope and using different practices, spiritual practices, not from any organized religion, but spiritual practices. We're looking to incorporate them in. And so we've talked to one of the ministers on campus and he has agreed to, let's explore this. Let's walk with this.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. Because not everyone is driven, by faith, but a lot of people are, because I know even in the, grief space, and I work there too, a lot of people heal with their faith. And then a lot of people are like, well, that's not part of my journey. And I just really feel like I don't ever want to tell people no or yes. It's like, well, if that's what you want to do, let's explore that and see if, what that looks like for you. I'm curious about the massage. Do you do it in a room? Where do you get the massage therapist? How many are there? Do people wait in line? Do they sign up? The logistics of that, paint me a picture.
Okay, so initially we started with people signing up, but this population is more spontaneous. So we decided that what we would do is first come, first serve. First come, first serve. There are 3 or 4 massage therapists, and we did an RFP. We went through all of the state regulations, micro swam, make sure they met the criteria. Oh yeah, we followed the procurement process. People bid, and now they get the contract. They come. Like the students are looking forward to it. There's signs everywhere now up. It's on social media. Friday's Wellness Day, and so everybody knows they'll be here from 12 to 4. They get about a 20-minute massage, and they can do whatever part you want. When we do faculty and staff, they bring the long table, and a medical massage therapist comes when it's faculty and staff. And they're really excited and they look forward to it. Sometimes we go a little over and have to pay a little more, but that's been the most popular. Of all the events that we have, the massage piece, wow, it resonates and people really want that. And so they're in a room. It's in Foster Hall. It's in the center. We don't have a student union building, but that is the spot where our students hang out on campus. So we put it in their building. It's in their building. They play some type of jazz, quiet, soft music. The lights are low. They bring the oils and things, and the students get their massages right there. And they like it. They really like it. Typically on the next floor up is the paint and sip. And they come in and he also is, or she, whichever, I think it's a he this time, is playing the music, and they paint some kind of picture that's relaxing their view of it. If it's cold outside, we may have cookies and cocoa while they're doing it. There's bottled water. There's always some snacks, and we will do 2 sessions of paint and sip. A paint and sip session is 90 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, and then there's another 90-minute session. So you can do the early session or the late session. We ask that they sign up, but even if they don't and they show up, we take them.
Okay, so that paint and sip has also been successful.
Absolutely. Students like it, but faculty and staff also like that. They had one, they did a lead hership event for the females on campus, and it was also well attended for that population as well.
Yeah, I think I need to come for a book signing on Friday about 1 o'clock.
Absolutely.
And these
Absolutely.
books are there, and my back is right here.
Absolutely. That's what we do. Like I said, it's been really, really popular, and everybody is doing something on mental health. I don't think there's one organization on this campus that hasn't caught on, that hasn't bought into it. And just tomorrow, this is the first time the students came, but they made a video for the walk for tomorrow where they walked the route, and then they put it out on social media for their peers, and they just showed them picking up additional peers along the way. And we're doing the first annual SPA award, meaning there's a trophy to the organization, like I said, that rocks the teal and purple, but their name is going to go up in a prominent place. That organization's name will go up in a prominent place here on the yard. And so we're excited. We're taking a topic that is often in the African-American community to be taboo, and really normalizing it's okay to not be okay. It's just not okay to not say you are. So we're telling people, you're okay, you're not okay, it's okay to say you're not. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I stand up and say, I have a therapist.
Okay. So you're being vulnerable. That's
I'm being vulnerable. I am. I'm not telling them what I talked to my therapist about, but we as providers can't take in all of this information. We saw 1,402 students and think we're what's that, invincible? No, it can be emotionally draining, and vicarious trauma is real. So I would say to the universities to make sure that you're also taking care of those people that take care of your students. We do wellness days and do activities for my team. I need that to be done too, where sometimes a few people go home early one afternoon or they
oh,
come late. Yes, we float out. If we had to call in the middle of the night, then guess what? I can't give you 8 and the next day. I'm tired. And
right.
so self-care becomes important, and we try to model that. And we've been encouraging the university to now institute wellness days too for faculty and staff, not just students, but faculty and staff as well.
That's my next question, because we know that compassion fatigue is real. I can tell you it's real. There are times I'm like, I quit. I don't want to do this anymore. Nobody cares, and then I sit with it and wait for it to lift, and I go out and do something else because I need
Absolutely.
to step away. So I know we could do an entire webinar on this alone. And you mentioned EPA, but what are some other highlights and examples of showing care for staff and letting them know and be a part of all that you're doing?
You can flex them out. Oftentimes, we're so busy, and every moment of the day is consumed with something when you have college students.
Yeah.
So we actually rotate and we let people off. We also encourage people to do EAP. On my team alone, if someone's telling me they're doing EAP, and they don't have to tell me that, they choose to. But if they tell me they're engaged in EAP and they need to do that session in the middle of the day, because I really want their off time to be their off time. So we
Right.
will allow them to take an hour in the middle of the day. There are different luncheons and things that are done. We do different recognitions, employee of the month, across the university. There was an event, there was a black tie event to honor faculty and staff to say we appreciate you that we had in May. That was the second annual event, and monetary prizes are given out for, employee of the year got $1,000. Yeah, we're giving away, we're saying, hey, as best we can, we appreciate you. There was a dinner that we did not have to pay for to go to. We're having, I guess, many breaks over at what we call the President's House. There are events on the lawn that are for us that we get to go out and attend. All of those kinds of things. Sometimes when events come to campus, the president and his team, Dr. Abdullah and his team, actually give us tickets to sit in the VIP boxes, just regular faculty and staff. And so they will give those things to recognize as well. So we're encouraging people, and we're telling people, if you're not well, don't come to work. There's been more flexibility with some work from home, if depending on what type of position you have. As long as you're getting the work done, the box is shifting and changing. And I think if I were to give administrators guidance, I would say be open, listen to what they say they need, just like we listen to the students. We also need to listen to faculty and staff. We need to give them a voice and ask them, what does wellness look like for them? We're getting ready to launch a Qualtrics survey to find out more from them about what does it look like for my faculty and staff. My students answer what it looks like for them,
Right.
but now we need to answer, what does it look like for them? What are they looking for?
Do you think it's harder for them? Because I think the young people seem to be more used to talking about this subject, but it seems like, some of the adults, it may be a little bit more difficult. Can you speak on that for a minute?
I think that's very true. I think the stigma is still there. We work to bring it down. I think normalizing these conversations and normalizing help seeking behavior, because I'm a helper, but
Right.
I'm also seeking help. helps people to feel more comfortable. I've been able to get the university to look at bringing an EAP counselor in, because the number of people that talk to me, that call me and want to know, do you do therapy for us? There have been quite a few people to call to ask that question. I said, no, but I'm going to listen to you for a minute and I'm going to give you a resource, and I'll remind them about EAP. I was the keynote speaker for our opening conference last year. And I talked about our tagline is greater happens here, where a prerequisite to greater is self-care and mental health.
Right.
Okay. Self-care and mental health are prerequisites to greater happening here. And so we talked about it, and there was a little video, and we showed the first walk, and we really talked about it. And we talked about boundary setting, knowing owning the part of when to put up a boundary.
Right.
No is not a 4-letter word. I looked straight at the provost and I said, I need you guys to tell your boss no. Mr. Provost, don't fire me, but the answer is no. No. Because, and we have to give people the space and the grace to say that they're not okay.
Right.
And then come up with some strategies to help them be okay. Okay, how can we look at this a little differently?
So I was at Vincennes University in Indiana. I did a lunch and learn, and then I did a speech at their walk the next day. And so while I was there, of course, I'm pumping the counselors and asking them questions. And they brought up the same point you did, is that a lot of faculty and staff are reaching out to them and saying, do you all see us? And she says, where there seems to be a little difficulty is that these are people we work with every day. If you brought in someone separate, how do you see that working? Anyway, what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are they're going to have to give the person the exposure. And what I have proposed to the university, because I think what made people okay with me was they put me out in some pretty public spaces and made a part and normalized me being here. And I started to talk about mental health, and I kind of use a lot of humor. So people will go, that's the jokester. Okay, yep, she's the jokester. But I think they could go into department meetings and teach time management and healthy sleep. What does it look like establishing sleep routines and proper eating and all of those things, and talk about stress management so that people start to feel comfortable. Give them the same sort of platform they gave me so that they become a part of the community first. We could even use them for perhaps mediation when there's a difference between a person and someone they're supervising. I think we can do that then as well.
I think that's a really good idea. I really like those thoughts, because most universities don't have an on-site counselor for their faculty and staff. They use that EAP program, but more faculty and staff are starting to ask to say, I want it to be here.
Absolutely.
Because it's convenient, right? They don't have to go find parking, get out into traffic. So I think those are some really good ideas. So back to the students, how did you initially promote this event? And tell me what was kind of a stinker in terms of promotion, and what kind of things worked in terms of getting bodies interested, getting people at the walk, that kind of thing.
Okay, so to get people at the walk, I did a challenge. We have the Greek letter organizations. They like to step, right? This is what they do. They like to be competitive, right? This is what they do. Let's play that up. Tomorrow they'll be competitive and showing up and rocking purple and teal. Those are the colors. The woo-woos, the cheerleaders. They're our cheerleaders. They came to lead us off. The band came to bring their skill sets and to perform in front of their peers here on the yard. So the drum line is the line that leads off the walk. We catered to them where they were. What doesn't work is just sending emails to students, because their boxes are inundated with emails. If you want to be successful with students, it's Instagram. If you want to be successful with faculty and staff, it's Twitter and Facebook. You got to understand who your audience is and which mediums, social media outlets they're using. And then I had the students create the flyers. I had the students create the messages. So the students are talking to the students, and then they tag all the organizations they belong to and get them to come out. So the stinker is thinking you're going to just put out a flyer and they're just going to show up.
Right.
Nope, that's not going to happen. You're going to have to go network with some of those organizations, get some popular student faces to be your advocates, to be your mouthpiece, and go out and talk to other students. I also pull the faculty that the students love. There's Dr. Zoe Spencer, they love her. Go get your faculty that your students seem to follow, because they're going to get them to do it. Also, talk to faculty and staff about having their students attend and then do a reflections paper for extra credit. Those are things that students will do as well. So that's what we've done for participation. Also, I had a dean. We have a dean that calls herself, she's the most lit dean. So certainly if I'm having an event, because she comes and her whole school comes. So I make sure I invite her and I make her a part of the program. I made sure I made the business school a part of the program. These people are intertwined, and then their followings come with them.
Oh, that's rich. That's a good idea, because a lot of people I'm talking to will go into that. Oh, I sent out all these emails, or nobody's coming. I'm like, you got to promote it. You know, I'm come from a background of advertising and marketing. You don't have an event and go, oh, I'll just wait for the bodies to show up. It just doesn't work that way.
It does not. It does not. And so we give away things. We give away T-shirts. We give away VSU swag. We give away gift cards. There's a trophy tomorrow for the first time, and that team will walk away with it, and somebody else will challenge them to try to get it next year. So we do things to try to get buy-in from our students. And it's really about listening to your students and understanding where your students are.
Right. What
You know?
about food? I mean, usually food attracts college students.
We will have refreshments tomorrow night, something light, not as big as the spring walk, a more solemn occasion, and there will be other organizations that will participate. The event tomorrow night is in partnership with our Community Services Board. So it's in partnership with District 19. Actually, District 19 approached us and asked us, could they have that walk on our yard? And we partnered with them. And so that brings in people from the community too. And we've even talked to some of our contributors, such as Geico, about sponsoring a relaxation station. The next part of the process is to try to create these safe spaces on campus that we call relaxation stations. Like we want to put one in the library and call it the Zen wellness space. And that one will cater to people that just want to be quiet and not a lot of, so you probably won't have the video, but you will have the sound of water running there and the relaxing chairs and the floor furniture, so they can do that in that space. There are positive messages on the wall. Across from me is the Oasis, and that's where the nap pods are. And then we want to create a station that's about music, okay, for those people who want to hear, who that will be soothing for. So I think those are the next parts or things that we need to get funded and think about how we want to do it. We did just launch our after hours crisis support. And so now, because our students asked for 24/7, they wanted the counseling center to be open 24/7. Well, all of us know that that can't happen. So a little bit of education and to say, hey, we can give you support. It won't look the same as it looks in the daytime, but think about it. Is your primary care doctor open at 10 o'clock at night? Probably not. Patient First here is not even now open at 10 o'clock at night. It closes at 8. And so we talk about different levels of care, and it's really about educating the students. Once I educated the students with why we limit the number of sessions because of the number of Trojans that need support, they understood. When you talk to them through a language in which they can understand, say, okay, so am I going to treat a heart attack the same way I treat a sprained foot? They're going to get a different level of care, and it's going to take more resources. And when you say that to them, they looked at me and they said, oh, that's why. Okay. Now that you say that, she said, I was mad, but she actually said, Miss Sanders said, I think I'm changing my perspective now. And that's huge for a student to have the aha moment, and they got it and they stopped complaining about that. And they kind of bought into it. Yeah.
Being real with them.
Right.
And students really like it when you're real with them, because I remember my first talk and the students came, and you're the first person who's ever been real with us. And I'm like, really? This was years ago. And other people had come and presented statistics. Well, students don't want statistics, they want stories.
Absolutely. And we've taught, we tell those stories.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any kind of program, or do you think you'll have any programs where the students are telling their stories?
We've integrated it into the walk. If there's a bold soul that wants to tell their story, in fact, she was interviewed for the media and was on TV. Several of them were a part of it, and they told their story. And they also asked their peers, if you're not okay, please come to the center, they'll help you. And they talk about how difficult it was initially to talk about their experience. There's nothing that we have that we sponsor that we don't give the students the space to use their own voices and to tell their own stories. We were quite surprised that our freshmen who came in this fall, they got up and a number of them endorsed having autism and having bipolar disorder and having, because after showing the video and them getting up and talking about, I have a therapist, and the therapists out here, some of them have a therapist, and we identify with them. Hi, I'm Dr. Ellison. I'm from the 757. Where are my 757 students at? That's our area code. Well, that means I'm from Hampton Roads. I said, okay, so where's 804? Who's rocking 804? Okay, so where's 2 and 2? So I call out the zip codes that I know are popular and connect with them and see, who shouts the loudest. And as they interact with us, we throw things out to them like a stress ball or a fidget spinner, or they love the Rubik's Cube or a t-shirt or whatever for participating and talking back and interacting with us. So they're saying they're going to give you something. They're always going to have something that they're going to give you.
I love giving out participation prizes. I ordered some for NC State. So, t-shirts and books and Mad Libs. I give out Mad Libs because Charles loved Mad Libs. So
yes. Yeah. And that's what we do, and that's how we get buy-in from our students.
I need to back up for a second because I wanted to know a little bit, what is after hours crisis support? What is that? Obviously, it's not going to look like it does during the day with somebody sitting in the office waiting for someone to show up. What will that look like?
Okay. So if a student calls the University Counseling Center right now, they would get protocol. Protocol will answer. That is a service that we've, and it's going to say, good evening, VSU counseling.
Right.
It is a licensed provider. They're going to triage the student, give them some strategies in the moment, refer them back to us for care the next day or follow up if it's needed. If that student is in crisis, they're going to work with our campus police to get the students to safety. If the police department stumble on a student and the student is not okay, they're going to also link that student to protocol to make sure that student is okay. We have a licensed mental health co-responder that supports the police department. So that person will also be here to provide support should they need support. So it's going to be telephonic. And they're going to tell them that and make sure they're not in crisis. They have the address of all the residence halls where our students are. And that's what it looks like. Students can call as many times as they want to. If it's someone who calls more often, then what we're going to do is create a protocol for that particular student. Because if we find that there's a student using it quite frequently, then our case manager is probably going to reach out to see what our student needs, and then link them to what they need so that they can be successful. So we're really trying to do wraparound care. We're helping students with food. We're helping students with housing. We're helping students with mental health issues. So that's what we're doing. So it's really all about what our student needs. It's not one size fits all. Every single student that walks into the center does not get the same.
No, because their needs are different and
Absolutely.
their backgrounds are different. I'm curious how you get the students to speak up, because lots of times, well, when I was there for the grief event after a death a few years ago, they actually did speak up.
Mhm.
And I'm just curious, do you have them write it out on index cards, or do they just speak up?
They just speak up. Our
Wow.
students just speak up. We talk about having courageous conversations.
Okay.
These are courageous conversations. We have this saying at VSU, be you at VSU. We want you to use your authentic voice. And if your authentic voice is silent, then that's fine. As long as you're okay, one of us may check in. But if you have something that you want to say, we want you to have the space to say it. And a safe space to say it, because we're there with you. And we know that students connect with students,
Right.
not us licensed people or old people or whatever it is they call us talking at them, but when their peers talk to them and they share their truth and their vulnerabilities. What we found here is this generation of students is more vocal. When I was coming up, it was what happens in the house stays in the house, which we all know is not true, because it follows them around and affects and infects all of their relationships, first with yourself and then with everything else associated with you.
So I wanted to say earlier to the people who are here, in Virginia, we have something called CSB, and that's a community service board. And our mental health resources at our counties are run by these CSBs.
Mhm.
She talked about partnering with the CSB to have an on-campus walk. That's what she meant by that, and I meant to interject that earlier. So we have about 8 minutes left, and I have one more really important question. Can you kind of give us a basic overview of the steps of sort of starting a wellness program? There's so much to think about. What is step 1, 2, and 3 to kind of get something going?
Let's survey your population.
Okay.
Let's survey your population. Let's find out from your population how they define wellness. What does it look like? Because if we're offering something and they can't relate to it, we're not doing a lot of good. Also, I would recommend you create a wellness advisory board, a cross section of the university. So maybe it's someone from psychology, maybe it's someone from hyper, which for us is health education. Okay. So it's someone from that area. Maybe it's someone from business, someone from student activities. So it's staff, students, and administrators, and let them guide and inform what's done. So you get buy-in at every level of the university. Maybe the staff senate chair is on there, along with the faculty senate chair is on there, so that you have buy-in from everyone. And I think once you find out what the students want, then you start to test things and you collect data. Data-driven decisions is what I'm going to say. The students don't need the data, but we need the data to convince administration to give us the dollars. And so you need to monitor and track your data. Look at who's coming. Look at what time of day are events more successful. I was pleasantly surprised today when I did an event at 1 o'clock that students actually, and a dean actually came to a program at 1 o'clock in the day. Typically, those programs are at 6 and 7 o'clock in the evening, but we've done more things in the day and our students are showing up. So I really think it's about putting your ear to the ground and finding out from the students. I would say create a focus group of students and talk to them. Find out what's important to them. It's not about what we think. This isn't the same student. They're not the student that I was when I was in college. So the measures that we use to reach me are not the measures that are going to be used to reach them. So
Yeah.
it's important that we listen to them. So I would say those are the things. And then if you've had events on your campus where you've had students with suicide ideation, start talking about the data, start sharing it. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's not something that we should be taboo about. We talk about cancer, we talk about high blood pressure, we talk about diabetes, we talk about all these public health threats. We need to be as vocal in talking about suicide and mental health as we are in talking about those public health threats. And
I
so,
agree. And the thing is, Cynthia, or Dr. Ellison, they're talking about it too. And if they're talking about it, so should we.
absolutely, absolutely. And so I think those are the basic steps to getting started. And then do one or two activities and analyze the data. Get your students and your advisory board back together. What did we do well? What do we need to do different? Continuously tweak the plan.
Right.
The plan may need to change in 4 years. That may be a whole nother group of students that are looking for something totally different. Don't get in a groove and think that's what it's always going to look like.
Right. Be willing to change and be flexible. How do you collect the data?
Okay, so we use a Quadtric. We use QR codes. So we scan for attendance and we do a program evaluation at the end of our program. There's a form with a QR code. They can do it on their smart device. And they
Okay.
can tell us yes, no, this is the part that was most helpful, this was the part that was least helpful. We also do the same thing for our students that are receiving counseling services. We get the students for the first time they came in, we're looking for a certain amount of data. And if a student completes 3 visits, we want data again. When they finish with the group, we want data again, all QR code. And then we give it to our students and have our students dive into the data. I mean, we got to take care of the students. We can provide the mental health, but remember, I said partner with some of the organizations. So you got some psychology students, you got some research students that can help you make meaning out of your data so that you can tell the stories to your administration. In fact, I just hired someone with data analytics. I have someone on my team who's going back to school for a master's in data analytics. Well, who do you think pulls the data? I wrote it into her EWP,
There
which
you
is her employee
go.
work
I like
profile.
this can't be another thing on your list to do. So that's what I was looking for, is that you were finding somebody and making it their job, but
Absolutely.
having the good QR codes and evaluations. And when you do them, that's great information.
Absolutely.
But keeping up with the data is a job in and of itself. And if you've got to focus on students, it's really difficult to do both well. So I didn't know if anybody on the webinar tonight, if you have any questions, now is the time to put it in the chat. We have a couple minutes to go. But if you have questions, let me know. But while we're waiting for that, are there any final words you want to share with us, Dr. Ellison?
Well, I would say this, while we're taking care of them, let's make sure we're taking care of us. It's very important. A lot rides on us being well. My own well-being rides on me being well. The wellness of my team rides on me being well. The wellness of my university rides on me being well. And we as helping professionals often do a really poor job. We're really great at guiding others into wellness spaces and places, but we often don't take time out to take care of us. It's funny, we get on the plane, they said, put on your mask first. And somehow it slips our mind to take care of us first. It's not selfish. Self-care is not selfish. And so I would say to my peers, to my colleagues, please remember to take care of you and put on your mask first.
Yeah, and for me, that's connection. Like I find out if I connect with a friend and have a conversation, think about how good that feels afterwards. It feels so good to be heard and
Mhm,
listened without
mhm.
anybody throwing solutions my way.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to say how much I appreciate this, Dr. Ellison. This has been very enriching, and I'm going to be putting this on YouTube and on my blog. So beyond whoever watched tonight, I think it'll have legs and go further. And I wish everyone good night, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.